The moment the little girl tugged on the leather vest of the Hells Angels rider and quietly said she recognized a tattoo just like his, the air around the roaring motorcycle seemed to freeze, and something long buried stirred behind the man's hardened eyes. No one there yet understood why her words mattered, or how a single sentence from a child standing barefoot on cold pavement was about to reopen a past soaked in pain, loss, and unfinished promises. The bikers thought it was just another street encounter, another face they'd forget by nightfall. They were wrong. Something was about to surface that none of them were prepared for. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that even the toughest hearts can still be reached, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Only Kindness. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. The girl's name was Arya, and she stood no taller than the motorcycle's fuel tank, her dark hair unevenly cut as if done in a hurry, her jacket far too thin for the gray afternoon. She had wandered into the edge of the gas station parking lot where the Hells Angels had stopped, drawn not by fear, but by curiosity and hunger. Her eyes weren't wide with innocence the way people expect from children, they carried the dull awareness of someone who had seen too much too early. When she noticed the tattoo on the biker's forearm, a faded emblem partially hidden beneath scars, something clicked in her memory. She didn't know his name, didn't know what the symbol meant to others, but she knew she had seen it before, traced on her mother's skin while listening to bedtime stories that always ended too soon. The biker was called Rook, a name earned long ago when he still believed pain made you stronger. He had survived years of violence, brotherhood, and loss, and he had learned to shut doors in his mind without looking back. But Arya's presence chipped at one of those doors. He noticed the way she flinched at sudden sounds, the way she stood protectively in front of a worn backpack like it held her entire life. Around them, engines idled and men laughed, unaware that something fragile and dangerous was unfolding in the space between a child and a man who had sworn never to care again. Arya lived with her mother in a shelter 2 miles away, a place that smelled of bleach and old coffee, where nights were filled with whispers and quiet crying. Her mother, Mara, was sick in a way no one around them could fully explain, tired all the time, her body slowly betraying her. She had once been strong, fearless even, carrying a past she never spoke about. The tattoo Arya remembered was one of the few relics of that past, inked during a time when Mara believed loyalty could protect her from the world. When illness took her strength, it also took her secrets, leaving Arya to carry fragments she didn't understand. Rook tried to brush off the encounter, telling himself it meant nothing, but the image followed him long after the bikes pulled away. That night, as rain battered the clubhouse roof, he couldn't stop seeing the girl's face or thinking about the tattoo she mentioned. Memories crept in, unwanted and sharp, of a woman he once knew who disappeared without a word, leaving behind unanswered questions and a guilt he had buried under years of noise and fury. He had convinced himself she'd chosen a different life. He had never considered that life might have chosen suffering for her instead. The next day, driven by something that felt dangerously close to hope, Rook returned to the gas station. Arya was there again, sitting on the curb, sharing a bruised apple with a stray dog. When he saw her, something inside him softened, and for the first time in decades, he felt fear, not of violence, but of responsibility. He followed her from a distance, learning where she slept, learning how thin the line was between her surviving and falling through the cracks forever. Each step deeper into her world pulled him further away from the man he had been. When Rook finally learned about Mara's condition, about hospital bills and missed appointments, about nights Arya stayed awake listening to her mother struggle to breathe, the weight became unbearable. He realized then that walking away would be easier, but staying would be the harder, braver choice. The Hells Angels had always been his family, bound by loyalty and bloodshed, but this was different. This was about protecting something innocent, about making amends without expecting forgiveness. Slowly, things began to change. The clubhouse became quieter when Arya visited, laughter turning gentler, rough hands offering food and blankets instead of warnings. Mara received care she had long been denied, not as charity, but as a debt finally being paid. Rook never spoke of the past, never claimed a title or demanded recognition. He simply showed up, again and again, until trust replaced fear. As you reach this part of the story, if it has touched your heart even a little, please pause and show your support by liking the video and sharing it. Stories like this survive because of people who still believe kindness matters. In the end, Arya never needed to know the full truth about the tattoo or the history tied to it. What mattered was that when the world had turned cold and indifferent, someone chose to step forward instead of away. And before this story ends, we ask you one more thing. Please comment below and tell us what you believe truly defines a family. Because sometimes, the smallest voice can awaken the strongest heart, and sometimes, redemption begins with a child brave enough to say hello.